to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, CEO and founder of She Leads Media, a global media company dedicated to the advancement of women leaders and entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm also an adjunct professor at NYU and Rice University, where I teach on the topic of entrepreneurship. I'm a mom to two wonderful young men and married to my best friend from college. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women entrepreneurs and leaders. My hope is that these conversations and their advice will encourage you to put yourself out there and gain the visibility that you and all women deserve. We're all about stripping away the sugar-coated conversations and moving boldly in the direction of our magnificent dreams. For far too long, women have been conditioned to soften their words, modify their actions, and show up in the world to conform to outdated at best and harmful at worst cultural norms and ideals. Why? To keep those who are outside of the power structures from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence. This has prevented women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. The She Leads podcast is here to shine the light on all the incredible women, to encourage us to show up, speak up, and showcase the amazing work we do. Speak with confidence about the innovative and transformational thoughts that we have, and celebrate the positive impact that we are making in this world, both personally and professionally. So let's do this. Let's lead. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. So today is very special, and we'll talk a little bit more about why, but I have an incredible guest to share with you today. It's Cate Luzio, the founder and CEO of Luminary, a global professional education and networking platform addressing and impacting the systemic challenges faced by women throughout their professional journeys. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Cate.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited.
And this is kind of full circle, Adrienne, because as I was saying, it's like 6 years ago, we were not even launched yet, but in the process of launching Luminary, I get invited to be a speaker at your conference. And it was amazing to, number one, participate in that way. But not only the women that were on the panel with me, I've created incredible relationships with, but just the energy in the room, and to see 6 years later, like what you've built and what you're doing, the impact that you're having is tremendous.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was definitely a power panel at the time. And oh my gosh, so many incredible women. That was in, what year was that? Let's do the math backwards.
That would have been
2018. Oh my gosh.
2018.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it was right before that you opened Luminary. And I was so happy that you were there. And one of the things that got me so excited about what you were doing is that you were literally creating a space for women entrepreneurs and leaders, you know, women in corporate too, that, you know, work from home and needed a space to gather. You literally created an incredible space and place, and not just physically, but all of the extras that you provide to women. You created this for women. I guess for those of you who, you know, may not be familiar with Luminary, although I feel like you do such an amazing job of just showing everybody how amazing Luminary is. But for those of other people that maybe are around the country that don't know what Luminary is, can you talk a little bit about Luminary and how and why you started it?
Sure. So I'll start with the how and the why. So I was I'll say a very long career in corporate America. So I spent almost 23 years in a career before I became an entrepreneur, almost 2 decades of those within corporate and investment banking. So led a very, I would say, accelerated and successful career in the finance world. Loved every minute of it. Didn't leave because I didn't like it. I left because I wanted to have and create more impact in what I was doing sort of on the side of my desk. And like many women and allies that work in the traditional workforce, many are involved in their ERGs, their employee resource groups, affinity networks. And I happen to be very involved at JP Morgan, HSBC, Bank of America in our women's network, but also in investing in talent in the pipeline and thinking about talent differently. And I woke up in 2018 after having gone to I'll say unimpactful or non-impactful event for women and said, there's got to be a better way to bring women of all backgrounds, all professional journeys together without diluting sort of what they want to accomplish and the success they want to have or the ambition or the drive. And so came home from that event, wrote a business plan and decided that that's what I wanted to do, at least see if I could make it work, because I knew that women needed a place physically and also now virtually to gather, to learn, to have a knowledge transfer, a talent share. I think that's a big part of this too, because men do that very well. And also by creating a space that was gender inclusive, but our mission was to advance women and allies in the workforce. And so that's what I set out to do. And, we launched in early 2019, officially, sort of formally. And we were a little over a year old when the pandemic hit. And that physical space, which we still have, and we've expanded, we went from 9,000 square feet to now having the whole building, 22,000 square feet, was designed for both individuals and companies and their women and allies to come together and learn and connect and develop and grow. That went online when the pandemic hit. And so not knowing that that was going to be a part of our ongoing business model, it was sort of a means to an end as we all sort of navigated that early part of the pandemic. It was the best thing that ever happened to our business because we're still able to have this physical space. We have now almost 40 partners around the country and abroad that our members can tap into, go to those spaces, all of those being women-led, women-forward, or BIPOC-led and owned. And then the virtual is providing all of this flexibility and convenience. So whether you're in New York, you're in London, you're in Singapore, you're in LA, our members have access to all of this ongoing content that's all led live. Because at least for me, the way I learn is I got to be in it versus watching it and being able to engage and ask questions. So a long way to say that's where we started. This is where we are. And, despite what's happening in the world, and we've seen so much change for women from 2020 to now in 2024, we've just scratched the surface and we have a lot of work to do.
Wow, Cate, first of all, congratulations on that. I actually was not aware that you had the whole building. I knew you had the rooftop, and I didn't know that you also now have the whole entire building. That is incredible. Can you just say where Luminary is in New York City?
Sure. We are very centrally located. We're on 29th and Broadway, so in the heart of Nomad. And, 5-minute walk from Penn Station and the path. And that's all by design, right? Yeah. So that people that are coming into the city, commuting, even around the city, can get to us easily. And I am fortunate that this area has just exploded in a positive way since the pandemic. And so 29th and Broadway.
Yeah, everybody needs to go and take a look and visit and have a tour. But gosh, I am so in awe of what you have been able to build. And I think that women in community is the most powerful thing. The fact that you were able to network with all of these different locations and bring that all together. I mean, I think that is sort of like what so many of us envision. And it takes a lot of work to form those partnerships and develop those relationships, and then continue to add value across so many different locations and for so many different women that all have different goals and objectives. And I'm wondering about your insights into what it is, beyond community and coming together and sharing and growing. What are some of the things that women are talking about?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we serve sort of, three, I will call it very unique audiences in that we work with, thousands of entrepreneurs. We work with thousands of women and allies in the workforce. So they are, they have a boss. And
Yep.
then we work with now a growing percentage of women and allies that are in transition, right? Figuring out their next step. Maybe they've just been displaced. Maybe they've been through a reorg. Maybe they're re-entering after taking a break to be incredible, raising their families or caregiving in some way. So those three unique audiences, while they're very unique and need to be served independently and differently, and we do that, the themes that run across all three of those audiences aren't so dissimilar. So it is, I want to continue building my skills. I want to hone the skills that I already have and really play to those strengths. I need to create bigger and more diverse networks, both inside what I'm doing, whether I work for a company or I own a company, and outside. And I need, more access. And so access can be many different things. It could be access to new connections. It could be access to, I want to get on a board someday. It could be, hey, I just need the skills to better advocate for myself as I'm navigating my career path. And I think the three things that come up over and over for our members is confidence and really, embracing and building that confidence, no matter what age and stage you're at in your journey. Two is this idea of self-advocacy, which I mentioned. We have got to become better self-advocates because we advocate for everyone else. And you know this, Adrian, you do it, I do it, but we've got to advocate for ourselves, our careers, our businesses. And three is relationship building. And this word mentor and sponsor gets thrown around so much, but at the core of that is really building relationships and leveraging them. And the last I'll say, is about influence. I think whether you're negotiating for more, whether you're trying to get that new job, whether you're trying to get money from an investor, we have to build bigger influence up, down, and across in all of our relationships. And so we tend to do a lot of courses and workshops around those big topics. And then all the other things that we know that we need to continue to navigate our path.
This is so incredible. And I could not agree with you more. And it's so funny because all the women that that I know that come through She Leads and are part of our community and part of your community, they're amazing. They are simply amazing.
Yes.
And it's mind-boggling that we collectively don't have that level of confidence to charge more for our services, to ask for and get what we want. There's definitely a lot of challenges that we face, and then we also put, I think, challenges upon ourselves as well. And that definitely has to do with conditioning from when we were young, and we have to unlearn those things that hold us back. And so the programming that you're doing is so critical to the space. So you're holding space for people in the physical sense, and then you're also holding space and providing a safe place for people to learn and practice, because it's very uncomfortable, asking for what you need. And it seems like, to me, and maybe it's because I'm in this world, it seems to me that there's so much content out there teaching all of these skills, and yet we're still starving for it. Like, what is that all about?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think back to when I started my career in finance, which I didn't, that's not where I came from. I got recruited into it. And these are the same topics that we're talking about 20 plus years ago. It's like, okay, we are smart women. We are, we are confident. We have so much capabilities. And yet, why is this still the same? One, I do think there is something about how our companies and just the workforce has been not designed for us, right? With us in mind. And so I think we're still breaking down barriers in the systems. I think we're still breaking down barriers, certainly as entrepreneurs. And so I think there's all of that we've got to continue to break barriers down and through. However, and many people kind of, especially women, don't like when I say this, but I hate the word imposter syndrome.
So do I,
because I think the only people that use the term are women. Men have their own insecurities. I've worked with lots of them, but they don't say it outright. They don't say, well, I have this imposter syndrome because should I go for this job or shouldn't? They just do. Right. And so we know better, but I don't know if it's just this, we're intimidated, we're worried, we're these perfectionists that we're not leaning into our abilities. And so I'm the first one to say, listen, you're in the job for a reason. So own it and own your abilities and invest in the skills that you don't have or you think you don't have. 2 is use your networks better, right?
Yeah.
I am not shy. If I need help, if I want to help someone, I'm tapping into my network. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I was raised in a family with 2 brothers. I played sports all my life. And then I worked in banking for a really long time and was surrounded by that type of energy that gave me that energy and that confidence to just do it. It doesn't mean I don't have my insecurities, but I think we have to start pushing some of these things that I think we're self-perpetuating aside and just get on with it, whether it's starting your own company, whether it's, figuring out your priorities at your company and what's important to you. And I do think that's actually happening more now than ever. But part of this is we've got to own our part in this.
Yep.
And take responsibility and just do the things that are going to make us happy, better, successful, continue to drive us and drive our communities and our companies. But we have to take responsibility, because if we keep saying it's everyone else, and part of it is, and the systems and the culture and society, but part of it is us.
Totally agree. So well said. I also don't like imposter syndrome, because I do feel like in a lot of ways it's a cop out. It's something to blame versus what you're saying, which is very entrepreneurial. Take action, right? Take action, experiment, see what works, what doesn't, refine. If we had a more entrepreneurial mindset and approach to our careers, our businesses, maybe imposter syndrome wouldn't even be a thing. I actually interviewed somebody on the podcast the other day, and she's amazing, as are all of the guests that are on the show. But she helps people create pitch decks, and not so much the content, but the structure of it and the look and the feel and everything, so that you don't have to worry about that and you can focus on the content. And one of the things that she talked about that just sort of blew my mind when it comes to women pitching investors and sort of what they say is, she talked about women and projections for the future. And when they talk about, where they're going to get, they say, if we get to X point, then we'll do that. It's an extremely logical statement, is based in reality. And it's true. If we make it, then we'll do that. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's in the future.
Yeah.
However, men say, when we meet this mark and when we get there, this is going to happen. And that subtle difference between if and when is all the difference.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. And I'll use another analogy that I've heard as a manager and a leader for most of my career. When women, again, and this is not to be negative, but it's a mindset shift, is when they come in to talk about, this is what, I need to get a raise. I need this new job. I need versus I deserve.
Yeah.
And this is why. And so it's a nuance.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely true. And I think we second guess, right? And by the way, everyone second guesses. This isn't a male versus female thing. But I think you're exactly right around these word shifts. And it's a mindset shift about, when I get there, not if I get there, why I deserve something versus I need something or I need this. It's like, we all need a lot of things, but what have I done? What are the skills that I have? What is the performance and the results that I deserve because of all of that?
Yeah. It is also, deserve is such a loaded term. I get pushback on that a lot because I talk about how women deserve attention in the media. I talk about how we need to get the attention that we deserve. And I say that unapologetically because I do believe that women deserve to have their stories told because they haven't been and we've been pushed aside. So now's the time to do everything possible to get ourselves out there. And so, maybe with this conversation and more conversations that we have with everybody, we just make people aware of that shift in language that can really make a difference, and just being mindful of it. Because again, it's like, it's not that what we're saying is wrong in any way. It's just, it doesn't have the backing of confidence. And when you are confident and demonstrate that you're confident, people want to be around confident people because nobody's confident. So they're looking to you.
Right. And we're able to role model for others around and below us. Right. I think that is such an underestimated skill in whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working in the traditional workforce, is this idea of like role modeling behavior. Because what I'm trying to do when I do certain things, whether it was in my life as a banker or my now life as an entrepreneur, is I want the people around me, especially my team, to role model that behavior. And so if they can see it, they can be it, right? That we know this, we know all of this, but I think there's still a lot holding us back because of, again, society and culture and the way the systems are built. But more importantly, like, oh, I don't want to break glass. I don't want to, be the squeaky wheel. Be the squeaky wheel, right? Yeah. We don't get anywhere by keeping our heads down. We got to be visible. We've got to keep our heads up. We've got to keep our hands raised. We got to keep our voices, present around the table. And again, I don't care if you work for a big company or small company. If you are performing, if you are working hard and exceeding expectations, everybody should know about it.
Agreed. And I would think that that's some of the content and teaching that you're doing at Luminary and then throughout the network as well.
Absolutely. And I think it starts from the top, and then over the last 6 years, what I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this within what you've built, is when we talked about it earlier, it starts with you, it starts with me, and then the community around you watches that and they role model that. The team is my team's the same. And so then it's no longer just about Cate or Adrian. It's about the community. It's about the impact. It's about all of us sort of collectively working to support each other, but while still retaining and going after our individual goals and achievements.
Yeah. And I think that, even though that sounds easy and it sounds so beautiful, it's also something that is a little unfamiliar to us as women. And, I was in the finance world too, and then in media and entertainment in my corporate career. And when you looked up at senior management and the executives, you didn't see a lot of people that looked like us or looked different than a certain, archetype, right? And so that was very disheartening. And what it did is it said, there's not a lot of room for me at the top. And so there was this competition, I think, that whether we were conscious of it or not, right? And so now
it still is there, by the way.
It's there. Yes, Cate, it is there. And, I'm so happy that you said that because, and I don't, I'm far from a negative person. It's just, it blows my mind so many times because I think to myself, you read so much about how women are empowering other women and coming together, and that is happening. But there's also this competition that still exists, and you never quite know what you're stepping into until there's almost, proof of the collaboration. And so I think that every woman, I really believe, like, whether it's Pollyanna or not, I truly believe that women want to help other women. I believe that in my core.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. So how can we do a better job of setting aside that feeling in our guts sometimes, like, am I competing with her? Or like, how can I turn this from a competition into a collaboration? What is your advice?
I think competition is so easy, right? I mean, we could be considered competitors, right, Adrian, because we both have communities and yes, they do different things, but someone from the outside could say, well, I don't understand why you would partner with them because they're a competitor. Well, first of all, even if I consider looking at that as more of a peer, right? I think we're peers in this space. Yes. And so collaborating, while hard and takes work, because you both have to want that win-win, and identifying that win-win is sometimes harder than just saying, you know what, it's just easier to compete. What I think, and this is again what I've learned throughout my career, is what I watched men do very successfully is, for the most part, they always know where they stand amongst one another. So if it's transactional, if it's they need something, they want something, they're not afraid to talk about it in that way. Hey, I'm going for this job, and let the better man win, right? Yeah. Women will sort of never talk about it. It's like, oh, she's going for that job. I'm happy to tell someone, hey, listen, I feel like I'm very qualified for the job. I hope that, we're both in the running, we'll see who gets it, right? But it's not going to end my friendship or my work relationship with you. And so I think being very transparent about what we're going after is important. I'm going to use one really good, I think, analogy. So if you're aware or not aware, we acquired a company called The Crew at the end of 2023. Tiffany Dufu's amazing Black woman founder, also a friend that I met through Luminary. She's a longtime Luminary member. She actually built The Crew out of Luminary. People would say, well, you guys compete because Luminary is a community, The Crew is a community. And yes, if we looked at it that way, we could. Tiffany and I happened to be at Luminary last summer together, and she confided in me that she was looking to think about maybe getting acquired and sort of say, and I said, I'll throw our hat in the ring. And she was like, what? What we had in that first conversation was, what does your version of success look like for you, for The Crew? What is my definition of success? Like, what's going to make this work? And by the way, if it doesn't work, we're going to walk away and say, it didn't work, but we're still friends and we can move on.
Yeah.
Men do that really well. They don't get their egos hurt. No. They just keep going, and okay, we move on. And fortunately for us, we created a win-win and we acquired The Crew. But I was very vocal in the beginning and saying, what makes this work for you, Tiffany? I'll tell you what this makes work for me as the founder and at Luminary. And that's really how I approach most of my conversations in life. Life is too short. Business is too, hard to not have those upfront conversations.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations. I feel like I did read that, but I wasn't 100% sure. So that is really incredible. Oh my gosh. And I absolutely love that you are walking the talk. And I will also have to say that, you're a Jersey girl, right? I'm a New Yorker. We have the benefit of being direct, right? We were brought up, I think, to be direct. So we actually have a little bit of an advantage there because it's a little bit more comfortable for us, I think, to be direct. But that's definitely not the case for women in other parts of the United States, but less so around the world, right? There's a real harm sometimes that can happen.
Definitely. Yes. I think again, it's very, nuanced. I'm actually born in Ohio. My parents are both from Ohio. So Midwesterner, my mom will say, at my heart. And we moved to the New Jersey, New York area for my father, who was an FBI agent when I was in early elementary school. So I actually wasn't that New York, New Jersey type. I've grown into that because of the amount of time. But one of the things that I knew very early on from my dad, because I have a brother on each side, is that the world is different for girls and boys, right? And again, I reflect now, he didn't say it like that, but that's what I think he was saying. And you have to make sure people know who you are on your soccer team because you're on it with your younger brother. The dinner table, in life, you've got to make sure people know who Cate Luzio is and how good you are, and that you're going to work really hard and you're going to be a team player and you're also going to become a leader. That was just naturally sort of like ingrained, I think, in all of me and my siblings. And so I kind of think about that every day when I approach situations. And, sometimes as you are, I mean, as a New Yorker, I'm a Jersey girl, like not everybody likes that directness and confidence. But I think a big part of just growing up and managing through a very, I will say, a complex career is I had to understand tone, and I had to adjust and know my audience. And I do that every day at Luminary. And I think that's also something that we have to learn as we go through our career, navigate our path is, we are who we are, and I claim who that is, but I also adjust who I am depending on who's sitting around the table, depending on the circumstances. And so as women, I think you've got to own sort of what those skills are. And if you're not feeling confident, you just got to get confident. You've got to own these skills that we've got.
Or as my mom would say, cut the shit.
Cut the shit. Oh my God, my dad would say that. Cut the shit. Just get on with it. Life is too short. Our careers are very long. Cut the shit and just do, right? And you're going to make mistakes. And by the way, good, because mistakes are a good thing. You learn from them. Hopefully you have more, wins than losses, but you're going to learn from all of those. And if you do things, and I tell this to my team, if you do your job with the best intentions every day, that's all I can ask.
Yeah.
And so whether my intention for 20 years as a banker was to make a lot of money, and I'm not ashamed to say that. That is why most people that are bankers are bankers. They want to make a lot of money and create wealth. I became an entrepreneur because, of course, I want to create wealth in a different way, but I also wanted to have more impact. And just like you want the storytelling to be multiplied over and over and over again so that in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, we're not having the same conversation on another podcast.
Yeah, no, we're going to have a conversation about, where are you purchasing your next vacation home?
Exactly.
The Maldives. I've thought about it. So, Cate, oh my goodness. What do you sort of see for Luminary going forward? What is the grand plan, if there is one?
Grand plan.
Because you have a lot of work. You have a lot of work to do. We all have a lot of work to do. But where do you see ultimately Luminary, marching toward?
For me, one is we now serve about 15,000 members in the community, which, some will say, well, that's too many. It's never too many, because if they're getting value out of what we're providing, then amazing. We work with over 100 companies. I want to work with, 500 companies. Yeah. I want to create a company that has so much impact that we are a household name.
Yeah.
Right. And also want to create a company where potentially you don't need Luminary anymore because you are so great at what you do. You don't need us, but you want to be a part of us because you want to be a part of that community. So there's the KPIs that I look at, that end game of how big do we want to get from a business size. But at the end of the day, that sort of impact is what is driving me every day. The person that comes in and says, oh, I went to this event or took this workshop and I'm able to advocate for myself and I got my MBA paid for. Or the person that came in and said, I took your business plan bootcamp and I'm now cash flow positive because I actually focused on the foundation of my business versus Instagram. Those are the stories, right? And you and I were talking before the podcast about this. These are the stories that keep us moving forward. And so those 10 stories I get a day, I want that to be 100 stories a day. I want that to be 1,000 stories. And I want everyone that touches, everything that Luminary touches, to have some type of ripple effect in their world.
That's so beautiful. I want that too. I really do. I think that we can't do enough to just continue to pour into women, because what we have, who we are, is extraordinary. And I spoke to somebody the other day, and this might be a little on the woo-woo side of things, which I love as well. But she talked about how there is, sort of a shift that in 2027, I think it is, that, women are definitely going to be more of a presence and more of a force. And I cannot wait for that to happen, because I love men. I think we can learn so much from them. It's just that the scales are unbalanced right now. And we just need to get more women into positions of influence and power, so that we can all live as human beings and be doing things together. I mean, I feel like...
Yeah, you're 100% right. And it's why we've been gender inclusive since the beginning, because I think part of this mission is, while we're supporting and empowering and propelling women, we've got to build allyship at every stage, so that those positions of power that you just referenced, it's not such a hard decision that, wow, we know the stats. We know when you have a diverse board and a diverse leadership team, what that does for your business and the bottom line.
Yep.
But creating allies that say, okay, yeah, that makes the most sense. Like, why would we differ from that? I think there's been a lot of, excluding men, because that's what's been done to us for so long. And Luminary's just taken a different approach, where I wouldn't be where I'm at today without some incredible male mentors in my life and sponsors, as well as a very supportive father and brothers. And so that's just our approach. And listen, we're predominantly women, but when you go on a virtual workshop of luminaries with one of our corporate partners and you see 50-50, it's amazing to me.
That's
because
amazing.
The men are there for the same reason. They want to build, they want to continue to excel, but they're also in that same process. You're creating great allies.
Yeah. So good. This is so amazing. I feel like I could talk to you forever, and I'm definitely going to follow up with you. We're going to talk more. How can people connect with you? How can they join Luminary? Please tell us all the things.
Yeah. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I am most active there. You can find me at Cate and then my surname Luzio. But I love LinkedIn. I think it's a great networking platform and place to connect. You can follow me on Instagram, but you'll see a lot of pictures of my nieces and nephews and my cats and my outfits of the day. But it's much more sort of just me as a person versus the business. And then Luminary, you can connect with us. weareluminary.com. We Are Luminary is our Instagram. And if you happen to be in the New York area, pop in, take a tour, come for a day pass on us. And whether it's Luminary or not, my advice to women is find a community that you get the support that you need and that you can also provide the support for others.
So good. Cate, thank you so much for spending your time with me here today. I cannot wait to see what's in store for Luminary. And I'm just so in awe of everything that it is that you're doing.
And back at you, Adrienne. I mean, back at you. Congratulations on 10 years. That's just remarkable, right? So patting yourself on the back, I think, is important. And I'm sure, just like I've been at more than one of your conferences this year, the 10 will be as stellar as all the rest.
Thank you so much.
This and all of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network, the podcast network for women, by women. Thanks so much for listening to the She Leads podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support us, please share it with others, make a personalized post about what you took away on social media, and please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. This helps our guests and our show to continue to gain visibility and traction. To learn more about how She Leads Media helps women to gain visibility, you can follow us on Instagram at She Leads Media, or you can head on over to sheleadsmedia.com. If you'd like to network with me and other amazing women, don't forget to join us each year for the She Leads Live conference. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.